Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Is The Miz a good WWE champion? I am Luca, and I'm joined by the hardest working person in all of sports infotainment, WWE Reaction's own Denise Salcedo. How's it going, Denise?
It's going really good. And I guess you can kind of say that because I've now done 2 watch-alongs where something insane has happened on both of them. I don't know. It's the curse of Denise Salcedo, but it's okay. What can you do about it?
Is that what you're now saying? Is that you're the curse? Like if you go into a live reaction?
Think about it. They did the Fiend, Seth Rollins thing. We don't have to tell you what happened there. And then The Miz becomes champion. Come on. Those are probably 2 things that it's just like, what the heck? What's the common denominator there? It's me.
It's Denise Salcedo. Well, actually, we do have a question about that coming up later, so
okay.
we'll save for that. But yeah, let's dive into this topic of is The Miz a good WWE champion? Now, I have given my thoughts on this on the Elimination Chamber review and on the Raw podcast. Ollie and I have taken some heat this week. People are super mad at us because we're not fully on board with The Miz being WWE champion. And we've actually had like some really interesting conversations with people who've been chatting in about whether it's like a generational thing because we're now older. Like we feel like we're now the older curmudgeon-y wrestling fans who are just like, it's 10 years ago that he was champion. But for some of our viewers, that's a nostalgic pop for them because they were kids when The Miz was champion the first time round. So this is now like a nostalgic run for him to be a champion again now that they're slightly older. And it's kind of akin to, we made the comparison to The Rock coming back in 2013 and winning the title. While at the time I was like, I want CM Punk to be the champion. I was also like, but I do love The Rock. So I'm glad that The Rock is the champion again. With sort of the benefit of hindsight, Punk probably should have remained the champion. But I wanted to let's get your thoughts out there, Denise. How are you feeling about The Miz as the WWE champion in 2021?
Okay, so I was listening to your podcast with Ollie, and when you guys were reading the Ultra Chats, is that what you call them now? Ultra Chats? Yeah. Okay. So when you were reading those and you guys were again getting heat for saying how you guys felt about The Miz, I was very, very surprised. I think I was along the side of Ollie was basically saying like, why everybody was feeling this way. And I was thinking the exact same thing too. What happened to me, like 1 second we were all on the same page of yay, Drew McIntyre's champion. Woohoo. We're all happy. No, we don't want The Miz to be champion. And then all of a sudden people are actually happy for The Miz. And I'm thinking, where exactly did this switch actually happen? When did it occur? What meeting did everybody have that we all weren't in on? That's how I felt because I just don't, you made this comparison of, oh, these people might feel about The Miz how you felt about The Rock in the nicest way possible. You can't compare the two. Like, there's just no comparison. And I get it. Like, I get the comparison, but at the same time, I don't think it's a comparison. Secondly,
one is The Miz, the other is The Rock.
Yeah, in the nicest way possible. You really can't compare the two. And then so I said this on my post show, but I'm going to reiterate it again. And basically, like, for me, I know why WWE might have done it. My estimation is that, or my presumption, I guess you can say, is that he's going to lose at Fastlane. And the reason why I think that is because it's their first pay-per-view on the Peacock app. And I feel like they want to have somebody become champion that day just so that it could be like something buzzy, something newsworthy, just something different to happen. And they probably didn't want Drew McIntyre to, have it lose to somebody else. I just feel like the way that it all worked out was so that something big can happen at Fastlane, or just so that we can have like this big WrestleMania moment, right? And so it's just like, for me, like, I get the technicalities of why they did it, but it's just, I feel bad, but for me, I'm just not interested at all, Luke. I'm not interested in seeing The Miz as champion. And I like The Miz. Like, this is just, I'm talking about his on-screen character. I don't want to see it. I know he's a transitional champion. I get it. I get all of that, but I'm not a fan. So if you guys got heat, go ahead, bring the heat to me too. I can take it. Like, I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've very much said my piece on all of this, which is that, like, if you want to make The Miz the WWE champion, then, like, that's fine, but you kind of need to build on that. You need to make him feel like he's going to be credible within that position, even if he is just going to be a transitional champion. Because otherwise, what you end up with is like another Jinder Mahal situation, where it's like you're a jobber, you're a jobber, you're a jobber, then you win the title, and it's like, well, why is he the champion? Like that doesn't really make any sense to me. Why this person is the champion? Like a champion should be someone who feels prestigious, and it doesn't really feel like they're also telling the story that he's an undeserving champion, because they still present him as like, he's featured on TV all the time. Like he's featured on TV and like his character is like, I am great in this idea. Then the company kind of presents him that way. So they're not quite having their cake, and they're also not eating it either. Like someone posted up, I think it might have been Sean actually pointed out that The Miz has won 3 singles matches since January 2020. Like that to me is like, that's not a good run. That's a really, really bad run. He's lost like 19 of his last 20 matches.
God, it's
like
terrible.
And now he's the champion, right? So it's like, it's
it
like
makes the belt look like a prop. And I know a lot of people have said it is a prop, and I get it, but it's just, you don't want to make it too obvious that it's a prop.
It was pointed out by Russell Votes. This is 3,744 days between his 2 title runs. So he won the title back in 2010. Now he's won the title here. 3,744 days. It's the 5th longest gap between title runs. The only people longer than him was The Rock, Bruno Sammartino, Brock Lesnar, and Bob Backlund.
God, that just it bums me out. It really bums me out. And it's more just like, man, couldn't they have at least found like maybe like a newer talent that could have been a transitional champion? I don't see why that couldn't happen.
Yeah, this was my thought. Like, so I actually quite like this as a story of the guy who got the Money in the Bank briefcase and has then cashed it in to become the champion, and is now in a situation where he is in the land of the giants, where, he's facing Bobby Lashley on Raw next week. He's got Drew McIntyre just behind him. Braun Strowman's trying to get involved. And all of a sudden, he's this kind of like little guy that's just like, now what have I got myself into now? Like, I've made a deal. I've got a deal with the devil in MVP. Like, that's actually quite a fun story.
It is.
The problem is that, like, I don't think The Miz is the right character at this point to do that story with, because his character now feels incredibly stale. I made this point on the Raw podcast, but the promo that he cut on Raw this week after winning the title is almost word for word the same promo he cut when he won the title in 2010. That's a stale character. If you're still making the exact same points, no one wanted me here. The JBLs threw me out the locker room. That's like, the fans didn't want me. Like, cool, I know. You told me this 10 years ago. You don't need to be telling me this again now. So like the character feels stale. But if you'd done this with a brand new character, like someone who felt fresh and different, I really do think that the reaction to this, even if they would have still been a transitional champion, would have been a very different reaction.
Exactly, because, again, the fact that they made him not necessarily defeat Drew right after the chamber. No, Bobby Lashley did all of the legwork on that. They could have easily had somebody else do that. And I thought the exact same thing. The second he started cutting this promo, it was nothing new. It's something that I and everybody else have already heard before. And it's just, oh my God, can we wash our hands and just have something new, something different? Nobody, I mean, it's astonishing to me based on what people were saying that they were actually happy for The Miz on here. I wasn't interested at all. And I just don't feel I can't really see the pros. And even if they did, I just think that it could have easily been somebody else to be put in this exact same spot. Exactly what you said. The story is good, but it makes you uninterested just because of the players in it.
That's exactly it. Like it made me particularly not really want to watch Raw. Like, so I was like, I don't want to hear that promo, because Miz for now, like the character that they've kind of like got him doing like this, the correct stuff and all that. Like it's go away heat for me. It makes me want to change. Like I'm watching this because it's my job, and I think that's kind of also reflected in the ratings. The ratings were barely up this week. Not many people were actually interested in this. Yeah, it got people talking on Twitter and
because they were upset. There's people like us that were upset.
Yeah, but there are also people that were happy about this, but that wasn't translating into actual people of putting eyeballs on the product. The ratings was pretty much, it was actually probably worse than you'd expect, because you'd usually get a post pay-per-view bump and a new champion as well. And but it didn't really translate into anything. But I do wonder if WWE are going to sort of see this reaction, the reaction that we're giving now, this sort of like, oh, this, boo, I don't like this. But also the people are like, yeah, I do like this. And are going to be like, oh, actually, maybe we shouldn't make him a transitional champion. maybe he should hold the belt till WrestleMania. Maybe he should walk into WrestleMania as the champion, and we'll have someone win it there, as opposed to like take the title off him next week on, or this coming Monday on Raw or at Fastlane, and we'll actually have a lengthy run for him.
I hope not. I really do. I really do think and hope that he loses the belt at Fastlane, because I'll tell you this, WrestleMania for the most part always gets me excited, even if maybe it doesn't matter. Like, let's say the main event is something, or the top matches were something that I necessarily wasn't as crazy about. Usually they're good enough to get me interested in them. And so if it were going to be like the Miz, I don't know, versus Drew for the title at WrestleMania, I will tell you right now, I would have zero interest in that. And it would really, really just bum me out, because it's like, come on, like, we just had WrestleMania with no people. Can we at least get a little like cheery around here?
Yeah, I mean, I really do hope, like, my hope for WrestleMania is that it's still Bobby versus Drew, because I'm really invested in that match, because I think the WWE have done, and this is kind of what I'm talking about with the Miz. Bobby Lashley's an old character. Bobby Lashley has been around for a long ass time. He was a top champion. I'm going to use big inverted commas there. Bucky O'Hare is. He was an ECW champion when I was at university. That was a long time ago. I'm an old man now. I've been out of university for a long, long time. So he's been a guy been around for ages, but it feels like they've reinvented his character again. And he now feels like fresh and credible and different, because they've been booking him so strong for this past year. So him versus Drew is a really like great prospect, even though it's a match I saw last year. I'm really into the idea of Drew versus Bobby for the title at WrestleMania.
I'm not. I'll be real.
Are you not?
I'm not. I like what they've been doing with Bobby Lashley the last like 2 weeks or so. And I know that they've been keeping him strong. But for me, it's it's really hard for me when someone has sort of been at the same spot on the roster forever, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to take this person seriously. It's going to take a lot more than all of this to really, really get me invested. And I don't know if maybe I'm just like, I'm a hard viewer to get sometimes, like, to get me, like, be really, really heartfelt, all invested in this. I would not be completely excited about Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. I just feel like I like what they're doing with Bobby Lashley. I really, really do. But I just don't see it yet for me as a WrestleMania main event caliber match that I would be interested in.
Well, I mean, it's fair enough. That's one of the great things about wrestling.
Female viewership is like not doing so great on Raw right now, or hasn't been doing so great. So there you go. Maybe that's a reason. Notice how you're at least somewhat looking forward to this, and I'm like, nah. Like, yeah, it's okay, but I'm not gonna go ahead and like lose my mind over it.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean, and it's like and it almost feels like, because they've built no one else up over the last year, I guess that's probably why I'm into the idea of Drew versus Bobby, because Bobby feels like the only guy they've built.
There aren't very many other options, are there, for you? There really isn't. So you're I almost feel like you're settling. You're like, all right, they're building him up, so I'm settling, and okay, I'm happy for Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre. But I'm almost sure that, like, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, if they were to say, Luke, who would you book Drew McIntyre against at WrestleMania? I can guarantee that Bobby Lashley wouldn't have been in your top 5 picks for that.
It wouldn't have been Bobby. It probably would. I probably would have said Brock again. Like, and that's what a lot of people are thinking. We actually have a couple of mailbag questions about that. Like, what are Brock's plans for WrestleMania, and people, fantasy booking where Brock fits into all of this. Because I'm still thinking that it's going to be Bobby versus Drew at Mania, with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison. Because they were still, like, even on Elimination Chamber, they were still furthering this feud between Bad Bunny and the Miz. Aside from like this Raw where like the two didn't meet, and it was weird because like they've been so entwined, they've been so linked since Bad Bunny came into WWE. This is the first episode where their paths didn't cross at all. And I did put out a horrible bit of fantasy booking for Ollie Davis on the AEW show yesterday, which is, we've all been thinking it's going to be Bad Bunny and Priest versus Miz and Morrison. But what if Damian Priest turns heel and it's Bad Bunny versus Priest at WrestleMania for the 24/7 title?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do it. I really do think that it's going to be the tag match. And so So that segment, God, what was it, last week, right before Bad Bunny won the 24/7 championship, he was walking with Damian Priest, and they talk very low, so you could barely hear. But I'm pretty sure they were talking about The Miz because they were talking in Spanish, but they were talking really low. And I didn't go back and listen to the replay, but I think Damian Priest said like, "Oh, let me finish telling you what I was telling you about The Miz." That's what I think I heard, but I really wasn't paying attention, to be honest. It was kind of like, oh, this is starting, and I wasn't completely paying attention, but I'm pretty sure that that's what they were talking about, and I have to go back and rewatch that part. But there you go. That's a little tiny. Okay. They didn't make it very obvious. They were speaking in very hushed tones in a different language, so I don't think that a lot of people caught that. I did, but I wasn't fully paying attention, so it's kind of like, oh, I think I just heard him say this. All right, cool.
My lack of Spanish really bit me in the ass. They were like, they didn't
mention this at all. Turns out, and I should have brought it up on the Raw post show, but I forgot. Yeah. I forgot, and I should have rewinded and really listened to that. But I'm pretty sure Damian Priest said that. I would have had a skip there.
You made me look like a right fool there because I listened to your Raw review with Sean Ross Sapp, but I didn't hear you mention this. Otherwise,
I didn't mention it. I just forgot. I completely forgot. And I made a mental note of it when I heard the segment. I thought, okay. And then I said it to myself, oh, you should rewind it. Then I never did. And so there you go. The whole moment's lost now, but at least I did it now.
So for what it's worth, WrestleVotes did tweet out that according to their sources, The Miz is not scheduled for the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania, but Bobby Lashley is. So I guess we'll see what happens on Monday. I'm kind of figuring that, conspicuous by his absence, Drew McIntyre was not on Raw this past Monday. So I'm thinking he gets involved and we get a DQ in the main events, and that can set something up for Fastlane. So if it was me, I'd probably take the title off of The Miz and just put it straight onto Bobby. But I've got this feeling in my gut that we are going to get a DQ finish, and that will set up like a triple threat or something at Fastlane. But yeah, so according to them, it is, Bobby is going to be in the main event picture of Mania, but it's not going to be with The Miz.
I mean, I just hope that I get more excited about it. I want to feel more excited about it. I want to, Luke. I want to.
So let's go the ratings war for AEW NXT. A big week for both of them, actually. With the Paul White news for All Elite Wrestling. AEW Dynamite averaged 831,000 viewers on TNT, which is up 11.2% from last week, and NXT was also up 2.9%. 734,000 viewers. Both of them did really well in the 18 to 49 as well. Dynamite was 5th, I think, on cable, and NXT was 24th. So that's actually really good. That's actually a really good position for NXT because sometimes they don't even chart in the 18 to 24. But I thought this was an interesting note. Year on year, Dynamite was down 3.9% in total viewership, but up 16.7% in the 18 to 49. That's an uncommon stat in television, and it means that Dynamite's audience continues to skew much younger. NXT was up 2.4% in overall viewers year on year, but down 21.7% in the 18 to 49, which tells you the opposite story.
Which is weird too, because NXT has been putting on some great stuff in terms of everything that they've been doing with the main event picture, with the breakup of the Undisputed Era, Finn Balor. All of that has been good. Then they had this no DQ match with Santos Escobar and Cross that I thought was match of the night from both shows. And then did I mention the Cameron Grimes stuff? They're adding a little bit of more funny stuff to their show, but it's just a totally different show from AEW in terms of there's more of the entertainment showy aspect in AEW versus NXT is a little bit more it's just showcased a lot differently than AEW. So I feel like that's the reason why people like the younger demo is more interested in watching AEW than NXT.
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on why the switch is. My figuring is that a lot of people, the wrestling fans that were into NXT in the pre-AEW era, were the fans who were like, well, I don't like the WWE main product, but I do like a lot of these guys because they're the guys that I've loved from TNA and Ring of Honor and New Japan and et cetera, et cetera. These are guys that I really like. And then when AEW came along, they were like, oh, those are also the guys that I like. So I'm just going to go and watch that show instead. I was watching NXT as the alternative, but I've now got my alternative over here in AEW. But the people who've stuck around are, some of the more loyal fans, but also those older 50s who are just going to watch everything that WWE puts out because that's what they've just done for their entire lives. That's kind of but that feels to me like that too simple of a prospect. as to sort of like why, like it feels like I'm really like I'm painting in black and white, where I think there's a lot more colors here.
I agree with you though. I really do think that there are some people, maybe like you just said, like the older demo that's like, this is what they've been watching their entire life, so they're not going to switch. Because I remember for like probably when Impact first started, or not when they first started, but when they started getting on, when they were first on Spike TV, I didn't immediately go and watch them. I saw them as, and obviously I was a lot younger then, and I didn't really understand a lot of things. So I had a different mentality back then, but it was basically more of like, I grew up a WWE fan, and this, like that was what I watched. And so when I would hear about this, rival promotion and TNA this, TNA that, I was like, I'm not going to go watch TNA. And I didn't watch it for years because I saw them as the rival promotion, and I didn't care to watch them because I was a WWE fan. And I switched once I, met my fiance, who actually was a big time WCW fan, an anti-WWE fan. And so Impact Wrestling is what got him back. TNA is what got him back to watching wrestling after WCW died, right? So he got me interested in Impact, and that's how I started watching. But what I'm trying to say is, like, sometimes if you don't have that reasoning to watch the other promotion, you might just stick to what you're watching because that's what you're a fan of. And, I don't blame people for doing that, but also too, like, it is a very, like, I just want to kind of go back to like the fact that it's a different show, because I also think that when I'm watching AEW, I feel like sometimes anything can happen, right? You have the thing of like, oh, you don't know what's going to happen in this next segment, what crazy thing they're going to do. I do think that NXT needs to add that. They need to have more of that surprise, anything can happen atmosphere. And I don't think they have that right now. So that's one of the major differences I feel from both shows.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I just to round this off, like I want to sing the praises of the NXT angle, the stuff they're doing with Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era. Like, it's so great, really, really good. I thought the stuff with Roddy was just it's magical stuff. Like,
it's dramatic, emotional.
I know, it's because you're so invested in these characters and you love them so much. So it kind of like it breaks your heart in a little way. And like Pooh Bear put up on Twitter, and I completely agree with him, which was just like, don't mind me, I'm just going to cry into my Undisputed Era t-shirt. Like, that's what I felt like I was watching, because I've got like an original UE t-shirt. Like, when they first formed together, I was like, this is the coolest faction in wrestling tonight. So I bought the t-shirt. I don't really buy a lot of wrestling t-shirts, but I was like, this faction's cool, I'm buying this t-shirt. And I felt like Grand Pooh Bear, and like, I'm just going to go cry into my t-shirt for a little bit. Just don't mind me. I'm really sad about this.
You know who really got me in like this whole storyline? For me, the one that sold it and made it just that much better was Roderick Strong. I thought his performance in all of this was just, it was gut wrenching, it was sad. Man. It was so sad. Like, and then even afterwards when Adam Cole super kicks him in the face, and he's just laying there, I felt like this so much sympathy for him. And I like all of the things that they're doing here, because everybody's not necessarily, maybe aside from Cole, not everybody's like completely good and completely bad. Like, there's different layers to their characters. Even like there's so many, some people are, they're untrustworthy of each other. There's just a lot of different things that they're doing that it's making the storyline more complex. And I like that. So I do have to say that is definitely the thing that I look forward to when I watch NXT every week.
Yeah, same here. Right, let's dive into your Patreon mailbag questions. If you want to submit a question to the mailbag, all you've got to do is become one of our awesome pledge hammers over on Patreon at any dollar amount and submit a question in the community tab. Do label it question, because otherwise I may miss it. Do not email it to me. I will lose it. Bad at my job.
I finished your line for you. I'm bad at my job. My favorite Luke line. I'm bad at my job.
Thank you very much. Ree Smith said, with the overexposure and oversaturations of special match types like Hell in a Cell, the Gauntlet, Battle Royals, what rarely used match type or old match type from WCW shows would you like to see come back? Excuse me, similar to NXT War Games. For example, I'd personally like to see scramble matches back again.
I was going to say, what about War Games with the roof?
Proper war games.
Yeah, exactly. No, my fiance always gets so mad. He's like, "That's not war games. That's not the real war games." And I'm like, "Bro, well, what can you? I'm not gonna go in there and be like, hey, put a roof on this. That's not war games." So that's my answer.
Dude, we had the same thing. Like when they did the first war games, we had so many people being like, "This isn't war games. That's not war games. I don't know what you're talking about." Like, yeah, it was a good match, but that's not war games.
Yeah, exactly. And I even I try to be like devil's advocate, and I'll be like, well, because this, there's no reason.
Well, that's it. Like I'm the same way. I was like, yeah, but how could someone can't dive off the top of the cage if there's a roof on it? So like,
yeah,
it's got to be roofless. Also, like, have you seen like because people have been sharing like some clips of war games matches recently on Twitter? Those roofs were so low. Like if you did powerbomb, like if you did a powerbomb, you're basically like hitting your head on the roof, and then you're just taking this awful bump. Probably it feels a lot safer the fact that there's no roof on this thing.
Yes, yeah. I can't decide. I think because I don't know. I can't decide what I like best. But oh my God, my fiance would be so mad if he heard me say this right now. I can't decide what I like best. Oh, he would be so pissed right now.
I kind of like the idea of the scramble match, as I think there is something fun about it. It's kind of like quite a silly concept, but you know they've only done it the once, so it would feel quite special to come back. But as soon as Reese put this question in, my first thought was the triple decker cage match from WCW, of just like the wild, stupid spectacle that was. Whereas, like, you go back and you watch that triple decker cage match, and it's like, this is ludicrous. This is so silly. But but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I'd probably watch another one.
I was gonna say, can we count the monster truck match?
Yes, of course.
Does that count?
Of course we can. Monster trucks go brum brum. They're amazing.
I would definitely want to see something like that again. I mean, why the hell not? Might as well, right?
I actually talked to Wally off air about this, but you know, like Darby Allin made his entrance yesterday on Dynamite with the on Wednesday rather, on the zip line.
Yeah.
And it's, it's this cool spectacle and everything like that. Ollie was like, I don't think it was that cool. Like,
what?
He's like, I get this visual, but like the guys in the ring just have to be like, oh no, he's coming at me very slowly. I'm just going to stand here and wait for you to arrive, then take the harness off and everything.
No, I did sound pretty fast.
I know we're just sort of being very facetious about the whole thing, but I was like, I wonder if he'd have entered in a monster truck, would Ollie have had a different opinion on this? Because if there's one thing that us 90s kids love, it's a bloody monster truck. So I think I'd have loved it. Yeah.
Well, think of like all the different vehicles that Austin drove in on. I mean, think about all of that, or like even Kurt Angle, like all the different. I think anytime you bring in somebody come in with any sort of vehicle, it's a mark out moment. Even Shotzi with her little tank, even that gets over. So I think just the incorporation of some sort of mode of transportation, people get all excited about it. So why the hell not? Go ahead and do it.
They also ask if I've seen the Mortal Kombat trailer. I have, and I bloody loved it. I thought it was so cool, and I'm really, really excited for this. But I am a lover of the original movie. I wrote a book about it once. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for it. Did you see the trailer?
I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat. I thought it was a video game.
It is a video game, but they made it is, yeah. But it's a movie now. It's the third.
I didn't know it was a movie now. Okay, well, there you go.
It's the third movie. This is the new latest reboot they've done of it. But I'm super excited for it.
I'm not in their demo audience. I'm not in their audience. I'm not in their demo.
I would love to watch the trailer with you though, just so I could see what your reaction to it is.
I think is it like an animation? Is it like Transformers?
There's this moment when Sub-Zero stabs this guy and the blood comes out of his back, and because he's got supernatural freezing powers, he freezes the blood together so it forms into this blood spike, so he can then stab the guy with his own blood. It's brilliant.
See, I've never been into this kind of stuff. This is the one thing that I realize every time we do this show. We're into totally different things. We like totally different stuff.
Dwayne the Gronk Johnson said, a bit of a random question this week. Imagine you're stuck on a desert island for a month with entertainment and accommodation, but you can pick one breakfast meal, one dinner meal, and one snack, and that is all you're going to have for the entire month. Personally, for me, it would be a cheese toastie for breakfast, doner kebab with chips for dinner, and Thai sweet chili crisps as a snack. What are you having?
All right, so let's do this. Breakfast, bagels with cream cheese and scrambled eggs on the side and a coffee. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Dinner, pizza with ranch and a Dr. Pepper. And then for a snack, oh snap. I'm gonna go with hot Cheetos.
Okay,
What about you?
I'm having a full English breakfast. So that is like, vegetarian here. So that's scrambled tofu. That is Morrison's. I think they've got like a really good veggie bacon, which is delicious. It's really, really good. So that, some Lyndon McCartney sausages, baked beans, and some like fried tomatoes with some basil and oregano, and some fried mushrooms with some rosemary and thyme on there. A lot of salt and pepper and everything. Delicious. So that'd be my breakfast judgment. My mouth's like literally watering at the prospect of that as a breakfast.
So I have to tell you before you give your okay, you know what? Keep going, and then I'll tell. Remind me that I need to tell you something about big English breakfast. Continue.
You can tell me now. Yeah,
okay.
Tell me now.
Okay, I just don't want you to forget to give your answer. Okay, so when I went to London, because I was there. I went to London a couple of years ago for like 3 days, right?
Mhm.
I went into the gift shop, and you guys had like these very interesting London themed condoms in the gift shops. And they had a condom that said big English breakfast, and that was and then it had like the sausage, the eggs.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? And every time I hear
Did you
big
buy one?
English, no. I bought the Big Ben. I'm dead. I can't believe I said that out of here.
Oh, Denise. Blue Denise. Oh my god.
Okay, but anyways, so every time, you guys made an impression on me.
It sounds like it. Big Ben indeed.
Continue on with your answer.
Yeah. So what would I have as my dinner? I guess like I'm a bit of a basic. I'm gonna go with toad in the hole, which is a Yorkshire pudding. As a Yorkshire pudding batter with some sausages in there, with mashed potato, peas, and gravy. I think that's what I would really like. That there. That's what I'm gonna pick as my dinner of choice. And then as my snack, I'm gonna go with the salt and black peppercorn kettle chips that I got
Oh yeah,
for you.
those are good. I had those with sour cream.
Yeah, so I'm having those with a little bit of hummus, I think. Also, your hot Cheetos, an excellent choice. Very, very good. So Callum says, what TV shows do you want each other to watch? I want Luke to watch How I Met Your Mother, or actually watch the rest of Lost. It's not happening, Callum. It's time to give up that ghost, mate. I'm not going to watch Lost. Even though it's now on Disney Plus, I'm still not going to watch it.
Is it really on Disney Plus? Wow, I didn't even realize.
It's part of the Star a new edition thing that they've got. And he adds, and I want Denise to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Is that a police show?
It is, yes.
I'm not into police shows. Like if it's about police, I'm not really interested in those kind of shows. Like I don't even like police movies.
Not even Police Academy?
No, I didn't watch Police Academy. I don't know what it is. I'm just not interested in those types of movies. Like the good cop, the bad cop, it doesn't appeal to me.
Would it appeal to you if I was to say that like Brooklyn Nine-Nine is kind of like it subverts a lot of those tropes, and it is there to kind of like essentially like be sort of a tribute, but also a parody of a lot of those kind of cop movie ideas?
No, I'm not interested in that. I can't get into it. I don't know. There's certain things you just can't get into.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. But now that you've said that you don't want to watch it, I feel like I want to just keep arguing with you and make sure.
Why is it really good, Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
I love it. I love it. I think it's really, really funny, and I love all the characters in there. And I'm sad it's coming to an end. So I think that might be my answer. That or the DuckTales reboots, because I love that show so much.
You would make me watch DuckTales?
Yeah, dude.
Isn't that a cartoon?
Rad. Yes, and it's excellent.
Luke, I'm an
Denise
adult.
Denise Salcedo, I am in my mid-30s, and I cried watching a couple of episodes of it. Honest to goodness, like it made I was so invested in the storyline they were telling throughout series 1, and like then they had the big reveal of it in season 2. I actually cried like multiple times.
What?
It's so good. It's so good.
Okay, see, I can't even fathom that whatsoever. I can't. No. See, I don't even watch cartoons, period. So to sit and watch an entire season of a show of DuckTales, I don't think I could get myself to do it. And I'd rather watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But okay, so aside from the answer for you for How I Met Your Mother, have you ever seen Sex in the City?
I have, yes. My,
Okay, then.
my
How I Met Your
ex-girlfriend
Mother.
is, yeah.
How I Met Your
Yeah.
Mother is the answer to go.
Okay. Well, maybe one day I will actually get down to watching it. I also think that's on Disney Plus now because it's part of the Star package. So maybe I'll watch it through that.
Have you seen You on Netflix?
Yeah, it's the stalker guy,
The
right?
stalker one? You've seen that one? Or
I
that
saw the first season. My
First
wife
season?
actually watched the second season on her own. She said it was much better.
Yeah, it was
'Cause I thought
interesting.
I thought the first one was almost like Dexter light. It was almost like and it was very similar to Dexter at times. I was like, these are like literally identical scenes to things I've seen in Dexter. So yeah, but I've heard the second series was much better.
Okay, yeah, no, it was good. Like, I'm ready. I'm excited for season 3. Ooh, do you watch Handmaid's Tale?
Oh, dude, I love The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, it's so good.
They
Although,
announced that it's coming back. You know that.
yeah, we've got a date for it.
Yeah, I think so. Let me pull it up. You can continue on. I'll come up with the date right now.
That's good. I love it. Although, dude, it is a bleak show. Like after almost every scene finishes, I just turn to my wife and be like, "Oh my god, this is bleak." Oh,
And I
it's
love
bleak.
Elizabeth Moss. She's such a good
Yeah,
actress. Oh my god, I can't.
so great.
Yeah, I love her.
The Invisible Man was an insanely good movie, and that's actually partly down to Elizabeth Moss's perfect performance in that.
The 4th season of The Handmaid's Tale premieres with 3 episodes on Wednesday, April 28th. April 28th. And then there's going to be 10 episodes in the upcoming season. And they actually put out a teaser already for it too. So that's up there. I'm going to probably watch that later on. So it's up there.
That's soon. That's very good. And the other show I'm going to give a shout out to, we are going to move on to another topic in a section. The other show I'm going to recommend to you, and only because I do a podcast about it, is Games Master, which is it was a TV show from here in the 90s, like in the early 90s, and it's kids playing video games in like challenge things. I know you're not particularly interested in video games, but I do a podcast about it. So I want to share that with you.
Look, you're killing me here. You're killing me here. You're killing me, Smalls. You're giving me all the things that are so not on the Denise Salcedo list.
Okay, Chris Gardner.
I need drama, emotion.
Oh, but there's drama, there's emotion.
Laughter.
So DuckTales, that's got everything that you're after.
But like with adults in it, like real people in it.
They're adults. Scrooge McDuck's very old.
I can't. What's the next question?
Chris Gardner says, do you think they'll treat Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly's story in the same way they wanted to do Gargano Ciampa without all of the injuries? It'd be nice to see how that story was actually supposed to go.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that for a second, but that really sort of came apart, right? Oh man, I don't know.
Like every time they tried as well.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I feel like this is the best thing that they have going right now. So I really hope that they go and try something new with this. With the whole Undisputed Era breakup, I hope that they just do something that we haven't seen before. So I don't know where they're going with this, but I'm liking it so far.
Yeah, I'm really, really loving it. Kevin says, as we're sadly approaching the anniversary of the start of the WWE COVID era, which gimmick storyline wrestler do you think has benefited the most from the MC Arena shows? I don't know if it's a hot take, but my pick is Roman Reigns' tribal chief character.
I feel like that would be the answer because I'm trying to think of somebody else that has really, really benefited from this. I don't think I can think of anybody else. Who else?
Well, I think like Bailey and Banks really made themselves like feel like stars throughout this. Like I've said it multiple times, but I think they were like the shining stars of the COVID era, like particularly during the summer last year. Like they were, they were on every show, which certainly helped. But they were just like every time a segment of theirs was coming up, I was like, I know I'm going to get something really good here. And I think they really like made themselves into excellent characters off the back of, being given that the time and space. But like, I think Kevin's right about Roman Reigns, because without this being an empty arena era, would they have risked turning Roman heel? Like if you're not, because, he's the ticket seller, right? He's the ticket seller. He's the merch seller. Would you have taken the risk of turning him heel and having it backfire, kind of like it did with Austin back in 01. You turn your top guy heel, people stop going to see the shows. So the fact that you're not trying to sell tickets, the fact that you're not trying to sell the merchandise like through live events, you can take a risk like turning Roman heel. And if anything, it's actually massively benefited from them. And I think it's going to sell more tickets off the back of their heel turn because we've seen how good it is.
And we know that they were very hesitant to do it. That was something that's, fans were saying, just do it already. Quit shoving, babyface Roman down our throats. So I do agree with Roman as the answer. And I do think about Sasha and Bayley. And I think that's a great answer too, especially because they were, at the top of this, the top of, really the start of the pandemic. And Roman Reigns has sort of been on the latter end of it for now. So I do think though that, I don't know. I feel like Sasha Banks is probably a strong one, but the fact that the momentum hasn't necessarily stayed all the way through, I'm going to have to go with Roman Reigns here.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer. Matt Neddick-Field kind of talks about how like there's been some like memes and stuff shared about what Roman said to Edge on SmackDown. When you saw like
when he whispered his ear.
Yeah, I mean Matt Neddick's question is, what do you think Roman said to Edge?
Hey, they got that good dip in catering. I don't know. I can't think of something. I'm sorry.
I went to see Big Ben.
Oh my God. I am going to be terrified when the show goes live and my Twitter feed is going to be all of Big Ben. Oh, and I have a picture with Big Ben too. So
do you really?
Like Big Ben, the landmark. That came out so wrong. That's like my one picture. So I don't know if you probably, where there's like the Big Ben sat, and then there's like a little red phone booth, and like all the tourists go there and like take a little picture. I went and got a picture there, so I do have my Big Ben photo there.
That's really cool. I don't begrudge anyone doing the touristy stuff around London. Like that's what it's there for. Like it's
I have a question for you. Is it rude to take pictures with those guys with the black thing and the red coats, the ones that just stand there and don't smile and are all serious?
I don't know if it's rude. Like again, because I think they kind of like everyone does it, so I think they're kind of like just used to it at this point. Like they are doing their job.
I took so many selfies with this one guy who was just standing there, and I was like, taking all these selfies with them.
I imagine they're a little bit annoyed about it.
Oh, I feel like I didn't know if it was like a thing to do or if it was considered rude. But at the time I was like, well, I've never seen this before. This is so new to me. So I'm going to take a picture with this guy. So I have my picture with him.
I suppose my question would be like, if someone came to LA, someone came to California, and they were like, you were doing your job out in the streets, and then someone was trying to take selfies with you because they haven't seen this sort of like, they haven't seen a YouTuber making a video.
Oh, that's happened. People take pictures with you. Like if they see you doing something that's like, I don't know how to explain this. So I've had situations like that where like, let's say they see you with like a camera, a reporter or something. People like foreigners, like especially down in Hollywood, they'll ask for pictures.
Really?
And even when this is totally opposite, but when I was working retail, I had some foreigners that would come over and they would ask to take pictures with the Latina females. It was a thing. They'd be like, "Can we have a picture with you?" Or like, it would happen to all the Latina women in my store. We would get asked to get pictures with the foreigners because it was like a thing.
Oh, well, okay. Well, then I completely take it back then. But it's basically the situation. The guy's trying to do their job. You're taking photos. You're trying to do your job. They want to take photos with you. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So I guess it is natural. But anyway, so yeah, I did that in my time in London.
Adam Gallic says, thank you for the response last week. I do agree with you about Money in the Bank. I think I was just reaching for something with The Miz where he probably should have had it in the first place. My question is, what does WWE do this year to make Money in the Bank mean something again?
It's simple. Give it to somebody that's a credible challenger. Somebody that, like, if a Keith Lee had it, heck, Matt Riddle had it, heck, even Sheamus, man. I don't know. Just somebody that it can mean something.
But it's to put it onto someone who can do something with it. Like, so someone who's new, who's never had it before, I think will really help. But also someone who doesn't need it. So, like, Braun Strowman didn't need Money in the Bank, because he was going to get title opportunities regardless. Brock Lesnar didn't need Money in the Bank because he's going to get title shots regardless. What you want to do is give it to someone who is rarely in that WWE Championship picture, someone who is a mid-carder but has never been part of that main event scene, because what it makes you feel like is like, well, this guy's going to get elevated into that scene. Sometimes it works, like, Edge has completely worked for, Seth it completely worked for. Sometimes it doesn't. Didn't work for Mr. Anderson. I know that he'd lost the Money in the Bank. Didn't work for Jack Swagger. Didn't really work for Dolph. But I think it's worth trying it with someone who has not been. And that's kind of like why I was a little bit excited for it to be Otis, because I was like, that said something different. He's not really been part of that scene before. I'm interested to see what he's going to do with it. Problem was they had such dominant champions in Roman and in Drew that I was like, well, I don't think he's going to cash on either of those successfully.
The problem with that is that even though it felt different to have somebody like Otis win, the problem with that was that he was still treated as somebody that was super goofy. Had he been having I really think that if anybody's booked well and they have charisma, they can go far. And I do think that Otis is one of those people that has charisma. So he could have been this easily likable person to have this opportunity with. But the problem is that I almost wonder if they didn't see that in him and they were like, no, he's too goofy. He's too funny. He's, the guy that rubs his belly and says, ooh, yeah, they could have done something with him. And I would have liked it better than having to find a way to get it on somebody else because they couldn't come up with something with Otis. Like that whole lawsuit stuff was so confusing. It went over everyone's heads. Nobody cared. It was a tough way. It was an icky way to get it off of him.
Yeah, I agree. Ben Waller is the question. Denise, how was the WWE watch along for Elimination Chamber?
All right, here we go. I'll give you guys some details. So funny story. So I was knocked the hell out. All right. I was sleepy. I had a text and but I didn't see the text. I just saw the little text icon. And I was like, oh, it's probably someone. I don't even know who. And I went back to sleep. All right. I went back to sleep without reading the text message. I woke up and finally I'm like, all right, I'm going to start the day. Let me see what's going on here. So I opened the text and it's from WWE. And I'm like, oh, this came like 2 hours ago. It was the text that I heard coming in, but I didn't read. So I wrote back, yes, I will be on the watch along. And then afterwards, so the day came and I was so nervous because they told me I was going to be in the women's tag team match. But then they were like, oh, maybe you're going to be in the triple threat match for the US title. So I kind of mentally prepared for both of those situations, like maybe come up with some things that I might talk about, might bring up, a little preparation. And so I ended up really being on neither of those because I came in like the last few minutes of the women's tag match, but it was just kind of crazy, just the whole experience of like connecting on. I missed practically the entire Elimination Chamber and I had to rewatch the pay-per-view afterwards because I was literally connecting for like half hour, just waiting essentially for my cue. So then I finally go on and, I do my little thing and then I log off. But then as I'm logging off, they're like, hey, can you stay on for like another segment? And since I had practically missed the entire show, I didn't even know it was the main event already until bam, I'm in. And I was like, oh man, it's the main event. I didn't even realize it because I couldn't have any of my devices on because of my internet. And so it's like this whole big internet tech thing. And so I didn't know anything that was happening either on the watch along or on the actual show. And then once I went on, they had like a little screen for you to watch the show, which I didn't know about either. But like you have like a little tiny screen that only you can see and watch the Chamber pay-per-view. So it was just like, technically speaking, it was a crazy like experience to like not know what's happening. And so, but being on the actual watch along was exciting because I didn't know that I was going to be on the main event. I didn't know I was going to be on with Booker T. So it was I didn't prepare to do that match at all. So everything was just kind of like, all right, whatever knowledge or background knowledge or information that I had already going into this is what I'm going to bring to the table. So it was more of that. And then just, I don't know, it was really fun though. Really, really fun. And it's a crazy experience to do. Because even I was telling you, like, it's very hard to do watch alongs because you're paying attention, but then you're also listening to the conversation. You got to be prepared for what questions are you're going to be asked. And it's a lot of that. But it felt good. A lot of people were like really awesome and, were saying a lot of really nice things. So I was just so thankful that people were blowing me up on the chat. So I was really happy about that. And then even afterwards, everybody watched, like my mom watched, my brothers, my sisters, even though they were all like, that doesn't even look like Denise. And why does she sound so different? So they, according to my brothers and my sister, they didn't recognize me. They were like, that's not Denise. And I was like, wow, how ugly am I in real life that you couldn't even recognize me on the stream? And then my grandparents watched with my fiance in the living room, and they had to watch on the phone because I couldn't Chromecast it because of the internet. It was just this whole big internet issue. But anyways, it was really fun. And I was just really happy that I got the opportunity.
I mean, the thing I'm really picking up there is that your siblings didn't think you looked like you, because Denise, you have shared a lot of photos of yourself from like, the last 10 years or whatever. You have not aged a day. You look exactly now as you did like 10 years ago. So it seems weird now that your siblings are like, that's a different person.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? Like, I think it's because I curled my hair and, they're listening to me talk professionally and, I, just chill at home. So, and usually when they see me, and maybe they haven't seen my face in a while because every time they see me, I'm wearing a mask. I don't know. Maybe they forgot what I looked like, but it was just really funny because my mom was like, yeah, they were like, that's not Denise. And my brother was like, oh, when he said apparently when I moved my hair at some point, my brother was like, oh yeah, that's Denise. I was like, okay, thanks.
Oh, that's so cute. What a lovely little idiosyncrasy that you've got. Your brother. Oh, that's adorable.
My little brother was taking screenshots too of the chat, and he was like, they're 12 years old. My brothers are 12, my other brother's 13, and my other sister's 15. So they're little, and they were all screenshotting. They were excited about it.
Oh, that's adorable. That's so cute. And I was really happy for you to be on the show as well. And I was trying to like tune in and stuff because we were doing our own watch along, and I was trying to like, I kept going on to the WWE one and being like, oh, Denise isn't there yet. And I thought she was going to be on one of the earlier matches.
I was just here, literally like right here where I'm sitting right now, just waiting. I was like, lotta. Eventually it'll be my turn.
I only saw you in the main event because we were doing our own gimmick of like, it was Elimination Chamber. So like as soon as your guy is in, you're in, but if you're eliminated, then you leave the stream. So Randy Orton was my guy. So I was out very early. So I was like, I kind of logged out and I was like, I'll just go and check. And then I saw you were on there. I was like, oh, right. There she is. Denise is finally on the watch along.
It's meant to be. Yeah. I only knew that you were on because somebody screenshotted your comment and tagged me on Twitter. So had they not done that, I wouldn't have seen because I couldn't even see the chat either. I'm telling you, I had no idea what was happening anywhere.
Cool. Alex Kirkman says, Randy Orton aside, if you could book a Firefly Funhouse match with The Fiend against anyone else, past or present, who would it be? Mine would be Triple H. Triple H is such a good choice for a Firefly Funhouse match. It's like someone who has got this sort of lengthy character that's gone through so many of these different ebbs and flows. I think that'd be a fascinating character to like dive into.
Mankind.
Oh, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That one for me, 100%. That would be some sadistic stuff.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Because the other answer I had was Vince McMahon. Like
okay. Yeah. That would be great too.
Dude, that'd be so weird. Like, that'd be such a weird thing to do, but I'd be so in for it. He also asked me as well, like, why do I not have a light in my bathroom? So this is from WrestleTalk After Dark. We had an episode on this recently. I think it came up on a podcast maybe. But in my old house, the light in our bathroom broke. Like it died out, right? And then I was going to get it replaced and I didn't. And then the clicker broke as well. So like the light was out, the clicker was broken. So it was just on my list of things that I needed to do in the house. And it took me like 4 years to fix. Because like other things just kept coming up that I needed to fix instead or needed to like put some effort into. So we just didn't have a light in our bathroom for 4 years. So every time we went to the bathroom, we just took just put our torches on our phones, just put the torch on the phone and we'll just go in there with that. And we'll just, and we had like some candles in there.
4 years?
For 4 years. Sometimes we would have like candles in there. We had some electric candles in there for a little bit. It's just, we actually did a podcast segment about this where it's just like things in your house that are wrong that you need to fix, but you just get used to the fact that they're a bit broken. and then it just becomes part of the furniture. So like me going in there to when we had guests come over, our friends used to say like it's kind of quaint because it feels like I'm in a Dickensian house and peeing by candlelight because you don't have any electricity in here. So
maybe like the Amish.
Exactly. So it was I just got used to it. If I was going to the toilet, I just grab my phone to switch the torch on so I can see what I'm doing. Like it was just I just got used to it.
Wow, I can't imagine that because my light flicker goes on like every 10 seconds. Someone's going into the bathroom. It's like shum, 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 like all day long. I can't even imagine going to the bathroom without a light.
Dude,
I
we
would fix
fixed
that
it.
like immediately. I don't know what took precedence over that, but I would have done that like ASAP.
We fixed it about 3 months before we moved out. Might have even been less than that. It might have been about 2 months before we moved out. I was actually when I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it now. I'm just going to go in there. I'm just going to get my tools set out and I'm going to fix this. But yeah, It was like just before we left. And the only reason I did it is because I felt bad about the person moving in. I was like, oh, they don't need to have a bathroom with no light. I'll fix it now.
See, I would have just been like, well, it's their problem now. They're moving in. They could deal with it. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Not my problem.
Bailey Donovan says, after he didn't appear at Elimination Chamber, what would you ideally or realistically do with Brock Lesnar when he comes back? Do you align him with Heyman? Do you have him feud with Roman, Drew, or even possibly Lashley?
I would like to see him feud with Roman. I think there could be something there, and I think it would be really exciting, and that would definitely have that main event big deal feel. Like you couldn't fake that. Like it would be there.
Yeah, I mean, for me at the moment, like it's because we've been talking about this a lot. Like Lashley winning the title, like whether you do it as a transitional thing for Drew or you actually keep Lashley as champion for a little bit and you keep it through to SummerSlam and you do Lashley Brock at SummerSlam, I think it'd be a really big money match. So yeah, it's like Lashley's the one who kind of intrigues me at the moment because that's something we haven't really seen before. And as it's actually Lashley has said in interviews, is the reason he came back to WWE is because he was promised a match with Brock Lesnar, and here we are, like nearly 5 years later, and he still hasn't had that match. So that's the match I'd really like to see.
Yeah, I could. That's something that's been talked about for quite some times, at least within the fan base.
Owen says, I always hear how fans fantasy book AEW putting WWE out of business. Do they? Like, I've never heard people say, like, I want to see them put them out of business. That seems like so. I mean, it's never going to happen either.
Well, it's not smart. We need more than one company that is, doing good stuff. Okay. We need it. Not everybody can be, a star on Monday Night Raw or on SmackDown or on AEW Dynamite. We need to have more than one company so that there could be more opportunities for talent. So I wouldn't want any business going out of business.
No, but he says, do you guys think that there's something the WWE could do to put AEW out of business? Is there a big move or would it be a gradual process? I think the one thing that would end AEW kind of, essentially what killed WCW, which is that someone different runs the company. And the WCW died because someone new came in charge of and had gone to a certain position in power in Turner. Ted Turner had lost his power. Someone new got into the position and was like, I don't like wrestling, so we're going to take it off TV. That was it. That's what killed WCW. It wasn't anything to do with like WWF. It wasn't anything to do with the product, bad as it was. It was this guy who was just like, we're spending a lot of money on this. I don't know why. Nah, I don't want it. We're going to take it off TV.
Self-destructed instead of, WWE's history tells it more of like, we rose above and we started doing this and we beat them on the ratings. But it's more of like they ruined themselves, WCW.
It was businessmen doing businessmen stuff. Like it was contracts and it was board meetings and it was suits that killed WCW in the end. And I think probably it would be the same thing for AEW because the great example of this is Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling is still going. A company that some people thought would be dead within a year is still on TV because someone just buys it up. The next person comes in as the new investor for this, whether that's Dixie, whether it's Billy Corgan, whether it's Scott D'Amore and Don Callis. There will always be someone who will buy up a property and try and make some money off the back of it. And as long as there's a TV network that'll put you out there, that's what will keep you going.
Exactly. All these different regimes of people running the business.
Yeah. Mark Jones says, I just wanted to give a shout out to Aliata for his fantasy booking of Brock returning to lead to Brock versus Bobby versus Drew at Mania. And Mark says, this time related to the theme of transitional champions. It seems obvious that the plan is to make Miz a transitional champ with the belts next going to Lashley. My question is, who do you think is the best transitional champion that WWE has given us? For me, I think it was Edge's 2006 run as champion right up there because it was a great cash-in. He had one of Ric Flair's best matches in his second run. And plus the stories around the Reign built up Cena and Foley feud, which I still like to this day.
Who's yours? Because I feel like I can't think of someone for me.
Yeah, I was really struggling with this one as well because it's Kevin, wasn't it? Mark. I like Mark was saying there. Like I really Edge is a good shout, but I was actually really gutted about Edge losing the title so quickly because Edge won the title in New Year's Revolution, right? And I was like, oh, this is so cool because I was so done with Cena. And I was like, this is awesome. And then he just lost it back so quickly that it actually made me hate Cena more. And so I wasn't into the idea. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, we got some really great stuff out of it, but I wanted to see Edge get a good run. And I know we got great runs after that, but nothing is, forever. So I don't really have a good answer for this one.
Me either. I feel like I have to think about that one more.
Transition. It's not the time to be doing this. Transitional WWE.
You're Googling.
Because we're so running so long on this. Sheamus is one. The Iron Sheik. This is the Sportster. Rey Mysterio. Big Show. Oh, the Big Show. These are all probably none of these are particularly good.
Yeah, I feel like the reason probably why we can't think of an answer is because it's who remembers really these transitional champions? They're not usually that memorable.
And because the answer is who's a good transitional champion. And when I'm looking at this, I'm just seeing disappointment. Bray Wyatt when he won the title and then just lost it to Randy Orton the month later. I really didn't like that at all. Kane when he won the title in '98, I was kind of I want to see what Kane was going to do instead of just losing it the next night. Mankind on January 4th. I love the fact that they ping-ponged the title back with each other, but at the same time, I wanted to see Mick Foley get that WrestleMania run. So yeah, I don't have a good answer for that one. Ket said, Luke, this one's for you. Who is more boring, Randy Orton or Triple H? You normally talk about these two being as boring, but which one bores you to tears the most?
Luke, I'm going to get mad. I'm going to get mad.
I mean, it's Randy. Randy's more boring than Triple H. Because Triple H has had some of my favorite matches of all time. I do think that he is him having the longest WrestleMania match on every card. I think could be a bit tiresome because he doesn't always need to have it. That match with Seth Rollins was pretty boring. That match with Batista was utterly boring. But Randy Orton just has more boring matches throughout the year. So I'm going to go with Randy Orton.
I think I would have to go with Randy Orton too.
Marcus Sol Campbell, simple question for this week. Could we see the return of the World War III match?
Ooh.
I don't think so. The whole reason that Vince didn't want to do War Games is because he didn't want to have two rings, because that kind of it removes a portion of the fans from the floor seating, which is less tickets to sell. So World War III, that's 3 rings. I don't think he's going to want to do that either.
No, it would just be a complete and utter disaster. And no, and with all the WWE camera cuts, can you imagine that?
Oh my God, it'd be so hard to watch.
We wouldn't even know what's happening. It'd be click, 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 a bunch of images.
Oh, you absolutely! I didn't even think about that, but you're right. The production would be horrendous.
It would just be a bunch of faces. You wouldn't even know what movesets were happening.
Angel Gonzalez says, to the best podcast members of WrestleTalk, Luke and Denise, as a new patron, I wanted to say hello from Texas. It's the best state in all of the United States, right, Denise?
You know what? I was about to greet you and be like, howdy there, but bro, Texas over California, please. I've been to Texas, all right? I traveled throughout Texas, and I don't want to be mean to people from Texas or anything like that, but there are so many towns where I was driving, we were driving and there was nothing. There was just no people, no buildings, no nothing, no life. And I'm like, this is a town. Where is everybody at? So no. And there was even a point where I had to eat food for dinner from the gas station, okay? Because I couldn't even find a decent restaurant to eat at. I had to eat donuts from the gas station. All right. So no, sorry. California, number 1.
My question is, what is one of the last big things you did before lockdown began? And what's the things you look forward to when it's a little bit safer? For me, it was Royal Rumble here in Houston. It was a lot of fun being on the ramp to see Edge's return.
So is this wrestling related?
I think just like, I'm
related?
just say life. I've got no wrestling thing that I can give. So, like, what was the big like life thing that you did before lockdown?
Well, for February, for Valentine's Day, I went out to this really great restaurant and had these amazing tacos, like one of the best because they were like fancy tacos. They weren't like street tacos, the ones like I normally have. No, these were like fancy tacos. Oh, they were so good. I've been wanting to go back. That was the best thing I did prior to this. It was my Valentine's Day dinner. And you know what's really messed up, Luke? This is so messed up. My fiance for that day bought me a 3-day pass to Disneyland. Ask me if we've gone. No, because Disneyland shut down. And we were supposed to go like before COVID was like before they started shutting things down. We were supposed to go, but we were like, oh no, we're gonna go on a Saturday. Oh no, it's raining. Let's just go next week. And we didn't go. And we should have just gone that one day. And I have these 3-day
man.
passes to Disneyland and I haven't even used them.
Oh man, and it's the California one as well. I would imagine it's the California one.
Yeah,
it's
Anaheim,
not the good one in Florida, but it's still at the
Oh,
same time.
come
it's still
on.
Disney.
Disneyland. Well, I've never been to Disney World, so
Oh, I've only ever been to Disney World, so I'm just there to try and like rile you up. But I've only ever been to the Florida one.
well, I know Disney World's bigger, but because Disneyland's Disneyland, it's like,
It's just around the corner from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I like. I don't really remember doing anything of much. Like, I think we were just sort of like, I honestly, it was just, me and like my wife were just living our sort of normal life. And then, lockdown sort of came in. So I guess the big thing I did before lockdown truly began in the UK, like before we super got locked down, was No Fans Monday, because that was in a period of time. Like, it's one of the things we look on now, and we definitely would have done it differently. But there was a period of time where it was like, well, wrestling shows aren't happening and like sports things are being shut down. But as a sort of a country, we weren't being shut down. So we were still allowed to like go out. Like we went to a restaurant on that day. Like on No Fans Monday, we went to a Pizza Express like before the show started to eat, because our country was so slow to react to these sorts of things. And so I guess, yeah, it was like No Fans Monday happened. Then like the week after, the whole country got shut down. So I guess, yeah, it was No Fans Monday, which now looking back feels super weird.
Right? I did. Okay, so you said you went to a restaurant that day. I did. I went to the movies to go watch The Invisible Man or The Invisible or the one with Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
That one. I went to go watch that one. I was in the theater with a bunch of people in there, eating nachos and all of this. And then all of a sudden it was like, ooh, that's done.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, yeah, me and my wife went to go see that. It was like a Valentine's Day thing. We went to go see The Invisible Man.
Oh, you guys went too? Okay, it was a really good movie too.
Oh,
right?
so good.
It was fun.
Yeah, I went to a press screening of Sonic the Hedgehog as well. Like, which feels like super weird. I went to like, actually, no, do you know what?
That's right. They were promoting it that week. I remember. Yes.
Yeah, actually, also like, and this is wild thing. I went to the premiere of Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie, with like all of the cast there. Like Margot Robbie, Mary Elizabeth Winstead was there. Like everyone was there.
And you said you didn't do anything big.
I know, and I'm just thinking that, and not only that, Denise, the next day, I then went to a hotel to interview them all. Like I then spent like time in hotel rooms interviewing them. I did do some big things before lockdown.
God, yours is way better than my taco story. And you couldn't think of anything. Oh, hey, I just interviewed Margot Robbie in, this hotel room, but hey, that's not big.
Exactly. I interviewed Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was one of my all-time biggest celebrity crushes. And I got to like interview her.
Did you like Birds of Prey?
Oh, I loved it. I think it's great. I think the film was awesome. Yeah, we rewatched it like a couple of weekends ago. And I think it's better on a second watch.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good. It's so much fun.
A lot of people were saying they hated it, and I loved it. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, I'm gutted that it didn't do particularly well. It didn't help with the pandemic and everything and them changing the name. but I wanted it to do much better because I want to see more of it. Like I want to see them do more films in that sort of that world. And I interviewed, and when I spoke to Margot Robbie, I was like, "Is this a character that you would like? You'd like to play again?" And, everyone was there. I was like, "Oh, I'd love to just play these, get back into doing these characters again." So yeah, I loved it. So I guess that's the big thing I did. I went to the premiere of Birds of Prey.
I'm so jelly.
It was the IMAX as well in Waterloo. We've actually got a few questions, but we're running out of time. So very sorry to Kid Gaskin, Adam Gibbons. I may do Adam's one because there's an interesting thing in there. Benjamin, David, Peter, Christiana, and Abby. So very, very sorry that we didn't get to all of your questions. But I'm going to get Adam Gibbons because he is Hollywood Salcedo's #1 fan. And he did give us a very, very kind message. But he's got a question for you. So this one is for Denise. My wife is not a wrestling fan. Do you have any ideas or suggestions on how I could tempt to make her one? From a woman's perspective, what elements of wrestling attracted you to make you a fan? Are there any matches you would recommend showing her?
Okay, so I think this depends on her personality first and foremost. So if your wife is really, what I think could help? So I'm not a big sports fan, but what gets me interested in watching sports is actually knowing the stories behind the athlete. Or, if there's a big controversy or something like that, that actually gets me interested in watching. So for me, as a person who's not interested like in football or any of that, I will watch if like my fiance is like, oh, this is a big game and, this is so important. And, oh, this guy, this is going on with him and that guy got traded and this, that, all of that ins and out. I feel if you were to provide that sort of information to your wife and be like, oh, well, this person is, controversial for this, or, oh, this person came from there, or that person came from there, or this is why AEW is a big deal, or this is what the fans think. Like, I feel like if you give her an insight and a background on whatever it is that you're showing her, I feel like that would probably drive her to be like, okay, well, let me see, let me get a little interested in what's happening here. And in terms of matches, I think it would just depend on what she would like, but I would definitely suggest starting with actually giving her some background information on who the people are, why it's important, or why it's, more importantly, why it's controversial. Controversial sells.
That's all we got time for, I'm afraid. So yeah, very sorry to Kid Gaskin, Benjamin, David, Peter, Christiana, and Abby. We will get to your questions. We'll do those on next week's show. But we had like a bunch of questions, and some people, very, very naughty, were submitting more than one question. So
they're only allowed one question?
I try to, because we get so many, I try to limit people to just doing one, because otherwise the mailbag gets too full and then people's questions get pushed back. So we'll get to your questions next week. But that is all we've got time for on this edition of the WrestleTalk podcast on its new exclusive home, the WrestleTalk podcast channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Please click the videos that have appeared on screen right now to catch up with more awesome WrestleTalk things, and this button up here that'll take you to Denise's Instinct Culture channel. We're working on a project together at the moment based around Spotify playlists, which I'm very, very excited about. We're going to talk about that more on the podcast outro. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I've been Luke Cohen. This has been Denise Salcedo, and that was wrestling.